could have gone to college, I would have, and I wanted to. Why not use this opportunity to give somebody else a chance who can't afford to go to college? That to me was the exciting part.
All you do is you change out the name of the candidate from one time to another. And one of the favors is always the idea of having your face along with those very famous presidents at Mount Rushmore.
But the chicken's been, marinated in some fish sauce, some soy, some vinegar, some honey, some star anise seed, some ginger powder, and all that love just comes in. And I always believe you need some love in the food bowl.
Hello, I'm Denise White, and welcome to University Beat. They're called transformational gifts, gifts of such generosity that they literally change a university, one of its colleges or one of its schools. Examples can be found throughout USF, but today we focus on the St. Petersburg campus, where some extraordinary women have transformed the College of Business. Hedel Gandhi reports.
The first thing you see is the shiny metal engraved with different sized circles like bubbles you find by the sailboats here. It's bright, fascinating, and one of a kind. A lot like Kate Tiedemann, this project is generating lots of excitement because USF St. Petersburg is just the third university in the country to name a business college after a woman.
I was a kid from the country who did nothing but graduate from grammar school. I didn't go to high school, I didn't go to college, I went to some business classes to learn skills, but that was all I did. And I kept thinking to myself, well, what if I had the opportunity to go to college? What would have happened to me?
Kate Tiedemann's $10 million gift is the largest this campus has ever received.
If I could have gone to college, I would have, and I wanted to. Why not use this opportunity to give somebody else a chance who can't afford to go to college? That to me was the exciting part.
Her wooden shoe necklace is a reminder of the wooden shoes her father made for her in Germany. Tiedemann wore them on a steamboat ride to New York City.
So I arrived at age 18, could say yes and no and thank you, and I taught myself to count to 100 in English. So I had to get a job where I didn't need to use English too much. What was it? It was a housemaid for Governor Thomas E. Dewey, who had just retired from the state of New York as his governor.
After 2 years with Dewey's family, she went to secretarial school.
And I found a job totally unexpectedly in the surgical instrument business. And somehow or other, that's what I liked, and I went for it, and I've been in it ever since.
Tiedemann helped 3 men launch surgical instrument businesses before deciding to start her own.
I started my own company in my basement, in my home in my basement, back in 1975. And I grew it to the point where it became rather successful.
Tiedemann's story is empowering for students like Jessica Godshall, who aspires to work for a Fortune 500 company one day.
And I think it's really important to raise the awareness of people who want a better education for themselves. And this opportunity that provides others where they normally wouldn't have this would be excellent, and it's just inspiring.
In fact, Tiedemann is one of 3 top benefactors to this campus, all of whom are women, including Tiedemann's partner Ellen Cotton and former Raymond James CFO Lynn Pippinger.
It's highly unusual that the largest gifts in this institution's history would come from women, all women. So we're really thrilled. And frankly, anecdotally, I hear from other donors that they have given and been inspired to give when they read about Kate's gift and then Ellen's gift and then Lynn's gift. So I think others are kind of going, there's something going on over there. Let's jump in and be a part of it.
Tiedemann's gift will provide an endowment for the Kate Tiedemann College of Business, as well as academic support to help students here succeed, like tutoring, faculty recruitment, an actual training room, internship programs, and expansion of the school's well-known program for entrepreneurs, as well as programs that teach students how to interact effectively with others.
Today we're starting to see more and more of the women at the middle management. How do we get them to the next level? So that's where we're going to do some intentional program, even on board training for women, so they can sit on some nonprofit but also for-profit boards.
Tiedemann's partner Ellen Cotton donated $1 million to be used for scholarships. The atrium at the business college will carry her name. She says the decision to donate was easy.
I only got to be, in high school, it was only a year and a half of high school. That's all I had. And then I quit and went to work for a bank. And then I realized that you need an education to do anything, so I went to college at night.
Pippinger's donation will also be used for scholarships.
Well, I hope that the scholarships will help the students get through college without some of the pressures of having to earn more money in order to stay in school, because school's expensive in today's world. Well,
Pippinger started out as a grocery cashier at the famous Webb City department store in St. Petersburg.
You know, my nickname has been "We Need a," and we need a person to go over here, or we need a new department, or we need a new building, or whatever it is. And I said, okay.
That attitude served Pippinger well at Raymond James.
I started when they only had 65 employees, and they kept, you know, it just kept growing. And we needed this, so I went over and tried to do the job to the best of my ability.
She studied accounting at USF St. Petersburg and became CFO of the company. Now these students need this scholarship money, and she's giving it to them. $5 million of it.
So the scholarships are desperately needed. I think, as a rule, our student body is not privileged. I am astounded by the amount of hours that our students work in order to earn tuition dollars, expenses, books, living expenses. So we find that students, in addition to getting financial aid, are seeking private scholarships. And it is particularly difficult for them as they become upperclassmen.
Which is why, for students here, this building is a great big shining symbol of possibility.
It just makes me feel more empowered.
I'm inspired to do the things I've always wanted to do, and I'm gonna do them with all of my heart.
But each of these women brings so much more than big donations to this campus.
The beginning is the donation, but it's really the other aspect where they are, each one of them are engaged with various aspects of what we're doing and working with our scholars and students. That really translates to a huge impact among, especially our women students, but among all students.
There's so many other opportunities out there. Find something that you really like and go for it and follow it and be successful at that. Whether it's an entrepreneur or whether it's having a trucking company, it doesn't matter as long as you follow what you really want to do. Because then your job is not a job anymore. Your job is something that you look forward to. That's part of your life. There was never a day in my life that I didn't look forward to going to work. I loved it.
For University Beat, I'm Hedel Gandhi.
The National Football League is pretty much king of the hill as far as popularity goes among sports fans in this country. But for some reason, perhaps several reasons, the NFL's television ratings are down so far this season. At last week's conference on sports management on the USF Tampa campus, we asked several experts for their opinions on why.
Well, I think there's a number of factors causing the NFL ratings to decline so far this year. One would obviously be the election and distraction. But one, I think that, I don't know if we give it enough credibility or not, but the emergence of fantasy sports and fantasy football and the younger people under 25, 35, they don't consume it the same way. So they might just watch the red zone and get all the stats they need for their football team. They don't need to watch a game, or they're on their phone, or they're wherever. I just don't think the way we measure anymore TV ratings, I don't think, are a good measurement anymore because there's so many different ways to consume. And sitting in front of your tube at home isn't the only way. And I think we have to take that into account when we're looking at ratings. It's early on, it's early in the season. It's been some less than compelling matchups. You had a retirement of a superstar with Manning. You had some injuries with some key players out. Some of your marquee teams are less than marquee. The World Series going on. You had some compelling stories in college football. There's only so much to go around. Let's evaluate what's going on right now, let's assess it. If it becomes a trend, then we have to take a hard look at it. I'm not going to push the panic button until I look at the ratings for the entire year and the entire season and the playoffs.
Make America Great Again, and I'm with her. Slogans from this year's presidential election that have made their way onto countless hats, banners, buttons, and those ever-present campaign ads. For many people, probably for most people, the souvenirs quickly fade from memory once the votes are counted. But not for someone into politics like USF professor Susan McManus. She collects them and, in her own words, shares some with us from campaigns past.
Congressman, thanks for what you stand for. Thanks for your
2000 election, of course, is one for the history books. But going into the election, it was an election where there was no incumbent in the race. So there was very high level of interest and a lot of competition. And of course, Florida, when all was said and done, ended up being the determinant of who won the election. There are certain kind of sets that all you do is you change out the name of the candidate from one time to another. And one of the favorites is always the idea of having your face along with those very famous presidents at Mount Rushmore. So you see a little bit of everything. They try to cover all the bases with buttons and also with their campaigns. But this button is another one that's so typical that we see almost every election, is that the centerpiece will be the current candidate, which was Gore, and around the button will be all of the presidents who were Democrats over the years. And the idea is this candidate, is, if elected, is going to join a great team of Democrats. That's the theme. 2004, it was Bush running for re-election, and he was running against Kerry. But a major part of this race was about the security of the country because we had had 9/11. This was more of a year when it was the traditionalism that we associate with the Republicans, because you didn't want to really dramatize 9/11, but yet the inference was there that security was at the heart of what he was saying was a reason to re-elect him. So you see the Republicans often really tout Abraham Lincoln, but Democrats heavily link their legacy to the presidency of JFK, so you see that. But you see the beginning of the LGBT community starting to become more political. Every party has derogatory, kind of uplifting, funny, I can say uplifting, funny buttons that slam the opponent. So here it says, not Bush again, because Bush was running for re-election. If you have a cowboy look on Bush's buttons, well, you can almost predict, and it happened, that the Democrats would come back with a counter to it which says, Mama, don't let your sons grow up to be cowboys. So it's tit for tat, tat for tit, almost all the way. And not on issues as much as it is sometimes legacies and personalities. 2008 was an open race. There was no incumbent in the race. George Bush had served his 2 terms. It was clear that people were ready for a change, and you had a young black president candidate running against an older sort of war hero Republican, John McCain. So much of this campaign was really about projecting the ideas of change and hope, and also breaking the race barrier in America. This was forward-looking as opposed to retrospective looking back. And it created a much higher turnout rate than we had had in a while. John McCain was trying to tap into 2 things. First of all, the idea that Americans were still very much concerned about the security of the country, and his experience and his war hero status, having been a prisoner of war. The selection of Palin was really a shocker to everyone and was designed a lot to get the women's vote. And it also was designed to show that she had experience in public office. He never said publicly, to this day, he never says anything bad about Palin, but the history books do point to that as probably not the best decision.
Pickering and the lobbyists will be in the same place 20 years from now.
2012 was a re-election campaign for President Obama, and he was challenged by big corporate type, Mitt Romney. And a lot of people thought that his business acumen would have been a good sell and a good candidate for the Republicans, but it was just not to be. It was a classic second-term type of campaign where the incumbent was a better campaigner and in the end pulled it across the line, although narrowly, because in Florida, Obama only bested Romney by 0.9%, the closest in the country.
And you know what else I prepared for? I prepared to be president.
A lot of interest in this year's election, more than we've seen in a very long time because of the unusual nature of the candidates. Hillary Clinton would be the first woman to be elected to the White House, and Trump is the first celebrity candidate who's totally unconventional in every way in how he's trying to campaign. It is interesting that this is the first election I can ever remember where a man's hairstyle has been more of a focal point than the women candidates' hairstyle. What makes this election so interesting and different is you have two candidates that couldn't be further apart in what they stand for, what they're campaigning on, how they campaign. We have a very divided country, and it's like we've never had as clear a contrast for voters. And it really kind of all comes down to this. Do you want to continue the way that the country is going, or do you want something drastically different? It's unprecedented, and it's why the polls are showing that a high percentage of Americans are really very interested in the election. The question is, will they vote?
Poet and USF creative writing professor Jay Hopler's newest book has been nominated for this year's National Book Award. His collection, The Abridged History of Rainfall, is a finalist in the poetry category. Winners will be announced next month in New York. Hopler's book will be published November 15th, but he has given University Beat a preview.
Winter night full of stars. I am a winter night full of stars. I am that star, the one you thought was a plane. I am the shadow of that plane casting its blackness over the lake house like a shroud. And I am that shroud, black, embroidered with stars, under which you grew cold that January night, laid out upon your catafalque of down. And those feathers were as snow in that mortuary air, floated like snowflakes in that mortuary air, when the wind came up, and when the wind died down, they were as snow upon the ground. Am I the smoke drifting through the bare branches of a Japanese maple? Or am I the Japanese maple smoke drifting through its bare branches? It is not smoke, but light burning to a fine ash. And in that darkness may you, like those dark blooms, shine. Come, oh, let us to dust together. May 25th. Behind the banyan trees, the mansions. Behind the mansions, the lagoon. In the lagoon, a mooring of sailboats. Wind in the rigging, hull slap and groan. Where is everybody? The sound of people playing in their pools, well, there isn't any. The streets are empty. The moon, like a moon jelly, beating its slow float in the not quite dark. In the gardens of the Moorings Country Club, the lights have come on. Rice paper lanterns printed with cherry blossoms. Oh, this unstarred sky. And the smell of the star jasmine, the fleshy, resplendent scent of the gardenia. Is this where I say, I miss you? Where I say, Father, isn't there anything in this evening's long cortege of bloom as beautiful as it used to be? Like the sound of an empty ship drifting through fog, like a sweet, despicable imitation of morning. A piteousness of doves is cooing in the banyan trees. After the obsequies, etc. On the pond beyond the north lawn, swans in honking congress congregate. The gates of the estate are chained, the manor's curtains drawn. On the pond beyond the north lawn, the breeze has thrown a sheet of leaves and then withdrawn to tend the family cemetery. Who leaves graves in such a state? On the pond beyond the north lawn, swans in honking congress congregate, echoes of all that here was elegant and fine. Elegant? Try obnoxious. Forget lamentations. Flocks of swans are dins. If only noise could slow the sun's descent. Echoes of all that here was elegant die across the darkling firmament. A breeze sweeps leaves from a grave's chipped face. On that stone, an epitaph. Forget your lamentations. An echo of all that here was elegant and fine. Try obnoxious. Try impossible.
It's called the Bull's Bistro, and it's in Lakewood Ranch. And what it is a unique opportunity for students in the College of Hospitality and Tourism Leadership on the Sarasota-Manatee campus. They get to demonstrate their culinary prowess at a series of public small plate tastings where local supporters and alumni can learn more about the college. Our Mark Schreiner dropped in for a bite.
It's the kind of class where students get experience and the public gets to eat their final projects. It's the Bull's Bistro, and it's part of the College of Hospitality and Tourism Leadership's Restaurant Management course. Dean Pat Morio came up with the concept.
So this is one of their last things they do now, serving the public. They have to do all the planning of the menus. They have to do all the ordering of the food. The chefs, of course, help them produce the food, and they have to make money out of this.
Chef Joe Askren says that running the operation as a bistro instead of a restaurant allows them to create an ever-changing menu of 3 to 4 bite-sized tapas items, usually based on a theme.
We never do the same menu twice, so that's kind of fun. So not only do the students have fun with it, the chefs do too, of course. And we think it's a darn good value. It's a $20 ticket, and they're going to be able to taste the guests are going to be able to taste 3 different items.
At the bistro we attended, Chef Gary Colpitz, the lab's culinary services manager, built a menu featuring a trio of Mediterranean dishes paired with 2 glasses of wine or 2 beers, including some brewed by faculty and students. In one kitchen, underneath a pair of large monitors showing his handiwork come together across a large cooktop, Institute chef Rob Avila assembled carne asada tacos. It started with marinated beef.
And then I'm hitting it with the Asian slaw that we made here. It's got red peppers, green peppers, celery, ginger, a little bit of just a hair of soy sauce and lemon juice. And then queso fresco, some fresh radishes and wedges of lemon, just to add a little flavor.
Crossing over into the Tuscan-style kitchen, other recipes were coming together. Angud Dang, a graduate assistant from India, was making the traditional Malaysian dish called sambal chicken.
But the chicken's been, marinated in some fish sauce, some soy, some vinegar, some honey, some star anise seed, some ginger powder, and all that love just comes in. And, I always believe you need some love in the food, though.
The bistro is held at USF Sarasota-Manatee's Culinary Innovation Lab. That location gives students the chance for hands-on experiential learning.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It gives them confidence. It gives them, it improves a lot of their different skills that they need out in the industry, communication skills, working together as a team, strategic thinking, coming up with not only the initial plan, but maybe contingency plans if something does go wrong.
Hospitality Management Senior Rachel Dixon, who was pouring wine at the bistro, agrees about the importance of that experience.
It's essential. You definitely need experience. Most of the time in restaurants and hotels, they want to hire somebody that has some general knowledge of what goes on front of the house and back of the house. So this is definitely essential for making a career in the restaurant or hotel industry.
The biggest lessons she's learned in the program?
You can't please everyone, and do the best that you can.
And the bistro also provides the chance for the public to learn about the college and what its students and faculty are doing.
If you look around in here, we have a lot of people. That's the whole point. Community and the students together, students practicing management, and of course learning what good food is about too.
Larry May is a Lakewood Ranch resident who plans on attending all of the bistros this year with his wife and friends.
Well, the thing that's interesting about it is an opportunity to take advantage of some gourmet things that you really can't prepare at home. We truly enjoyed it immensely, and it's well worth the small amount that you have to pay for something that you don't ordinarily get a chance to enjoy.
Askren adds that the public response has been incredible.
So for the very first one we did, we had 2 weeks to promote it. I would have been happy with 10, 12 people. You know, we ended up doing about 4 times that. We ended up doing 40 people on the first night, and we still have a few more tickets available for the rest of the events this semester, but we're selling out quick.
For ticket information about upcoming bistro events, visit the link on screen. The college is also planning to hold bistros on a bi-weekly basis in the spring semester.
For University Beat, I'm Mark Schreiner. Good.
If you'd like to comment on the show or suggest a story you'd like to see us cover, please let us know. You can email us at ubeat@wusf.org. Our website is universitybeattv.org. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can find us by searching University Beat TV. You can also reach us via the WUSF Public Media app. Just look for the Contact tab and write University Beat in the content line. And that's University Beat for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Denise White.